Let me get back over to here. Going to wait a couple more minutes as we just now have some other coaches coming in. The chat is open if you want to put some questions there. You can start putting some there. We have about 15 coaches that wanted to come today. So and there's about, there's 10 of you here. So we'll wait a couple moments. Now, Ambu, how do I make you a co-host?
I have no idea.
Let me see.
In participants, you go under participants, the list there, and you click on her name, and then there are options there, and you can make her a co-host.
That's where I was. I didn't see it. Oh, there she is. She's only got one name. There we go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The gym awaits you, Karen.
Chadrani, zero volunteers may be in the cafeteria during this competition. There will be no students in the building except for those taking tests, and there will be no volunteers except for the 2 that you assign, so forth. So we'll get to the scheduling of building events and all that in a moment. It's 8:33. Let me go ahead and get started. Ambu, if you could watch to see if anybody else pops in, type of thing.
Sure.
And away we go. All right. So our vision, Ambu's and my vision today is pretty much we're going to run through a few things that we know that you have questions about. But this is pretty much going to be a question and answer. So if you have a question, pop it in the chat, raise your hand, those kind of things, so that we can see everything and answer those as we go through things. So first, Ambu is going to run through some items on the rules manual, talk to you about a few things. Oh, and I do have pictures of the schedule up there for that. Is there anything else in the rules manual you want posted up there or people to see?
Oh, this should be fine.
Okay.
Okay, so you might know already that you can get the rules manual by going to virginiaso.org and going to the Division A site, and you can download it from there. And these are the general questions that we receive often. The number of students from a school. So the total number of students would be 45. They would be organized in 3 groups of 15 each. But then there are questions like how many students, can we have less number of students, in the sense like, can a team have just 10 students? The answer is yes. And one other thing is how many number of students can participate in an event. It generally depends on the event. If it's an anatomy, it would be 2 students per team, not per school. It is 2 students per team. So if you have 3 teams representing your school, then you could have 6 students. But if it's brainstorming, so if it is an event where 3 students per team can participate in that event. So the next major issue that we have is the materials that you need to bring.
Hold on, Ambu, 1 second. So one of the other questions we always get is, can a student participate by themselves?
Yes.
And the answer is yes. I never let a 3rd grader participate by themselves. But there have been times with 4th and 5th graders, I will let them participate by themselves, but you could have 1 student in an event.
Okay. So going to materials to bring, here, if it says mandatory, as the name says, it is mandatory. And say, for example, for a building event, if the goggle is a safety requirement, make sure that the student participates with the goggles, or else it would be considered as a tier violation. So since most of the written tests are online, so there is nothing to bring except for some optional materials, if it is allowed. If it is not allowed, then the answer is no, you cannot bring any materials for the written event. The scheduling the students.
So a question popped up about the purpose of the computer in Storm the Castle and Brainstorms. Let me specifically for the brainstorm event, the students don't know what they're going to get. It could be that they're going to need the computer to research items for a presentation that they have to create. So it's there mostly in case they need something for research to do, because it's not necessarily going to be a building event each year. I think the example that I posted one time was there's an elephant heading towards your cafeteria and you have to protect all the food. What are you going to do? Well, they might want to research things about elephants, like, what kind of foods it might eat and not eat, and how big it is, can it fit through the school doors and things like that. So it is more of a, they got to brainstorm ideas. Not only, maybe have to build something to solve a problem, or maybe just have to, solve a life situation type of problem.
Thanks, Alan. And going to scheduling the students. So this is done via Scilympiad, and the most often asked question is, hey, can a student from team A participate in an event in team B? The answer is no. So we have 15 students for one team, and those students can participate in the set of events that a school can participate in. You cannot put a student from team A with a student from team B to compete in an event. So same goes for team C as well. And so these are the building events that we have. And if you see here, one other question I get is whether it's a third grade only event or a regular event. So a regular event, all three grades can compete in. The third grade, fourth and fifth graders, all the elementary school students can compete in the regular events. But if an event says third grade only, then only a third grader can compete in that event. So please make sure that you do not put a fourth or a fifth grader in a third grade event. And there was another confusion of regarding tower building. Alan did send an email out to everyone. Tower building is considered as a third grade event. It says so on our schedule, and we also conveyed the same during our presentation the first time around. So tower building is a third grade event only. Okay.
The other thing in here is Maglev. You don't see on this list right now. Maglev, we're just going to make a trial event this year. When they ran it in BNC, they had a really hard time getting it to work. So we're going to do it as a trial event, see if we can get it to work for our third, fourth, and fifth graders. So it's just a trial event. It will happen pretty much all day long. So let's say a student comes in for straw egg drop, that's their only building event. They could do straw egg drop and then drop by and try to do Maglev really quick, and then pop back out. The grayed out rows are just so that you can separate things. There's nothing on the schedule there, whether it's gray or not. It just means that there. And Ambu will answer the next question about what does the numbers 1 through 10 mean and so forth.
1 through 10, it means the team number, not the school. There will be 3 teams per school, right? So it is exactly the team number and not the schools. So teams 1 through 10 can participate in straw egg drop and gunk ice cream between 8:30 to 9:15. And once they are done with it, they go to the next one.
So then the question is, so like I'm Providence Elementary, I'm going to have 3 teams. My team numbers would be 1, 2, and 3. Let's say like what happened last year, we had a school come in and bring in 2 more teams really late. They had numbers 2, 41, and 42. So the team numbers are going to be assigned on October 1st, and we have to wait for that time. But within this schedule, you'll see that every school, every team from every school has something to do every hour of the day for this competition. So it's just a matter of who's going to be scheduled where. We cannot change these times. We're not going to fit them around somebody's soccer schedule or baseball schedule or any of those kind of things. It's a commitment there. So those numbers, like I said, will come out October 1st once we have registration closed, once we know, once we know. I'll talk about conflicts here in a moment as soon as we get into some of the other details of registration, and I'll show you how you can avoid having conflicts on that.
Okay, so I mean, that would be all regarding rules manual. Do we have any questions specific to rules?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I do have a question. So I looked up the guide manual for Codebusters, and it says that this participants may not bring any resources, but if anything should be provided, the coach will provide. Now, last year, my son did Codebusters, and he's doing it again this year, and they were asked to print out a code for Vigner. Now, this year, will they be allowed to print out the Vigner and take it with them?
Are you talking about the sheet of paper that has Morse code and a couple of other things? Yeah,
Yes.
that's listed over in the clarifications that will be there for them.
So, as in the student does not bring it, but the coach has to have it ready?
Since Codebusters is an online event, that's the coach's responsibility to bring it, yes.
Okay, so the coach's responsibility. Okay,
Yes.
all right. And will we know if there are a bunch of, like for other events, if there are similar things that the coach needs to provide the participants, will we be given a list of the things to print out and take with us?
All of those are on the rules.
Okay.
Yeah, if you look in the rules, the must brings for students, which goes to one of the questions that somebody asked before when we did sign up for today, the 1 page of notes items. If the event says that they can bring 1 page notes, it's your job as the coach to make sure it's only 1 page of notes, and that can be front and back. And this year it is 1 page. If it says 1 page of notes, that's per team, not per student.
And 1 page would mean only one side, or it can be
no front and back,
sides?
front and back.
Okay,
front and
all
back.
right.
Yeah, both sides.
Alan, I have a question about the previous slide, the time slide for that one.
Mm-hmm.
I do not understand. So let's say I have one of my teams, right? It's doing the egg drop, and then they're doing the brainstorm.
Correct.
So they will do the 8:30 and then
2 o'clock.
And then
let's assume that your team number is 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
So your team would do straw egg drop at 8:30, orienteering at 9:30, gravity vehicle at 10:30, and so forth. So you would just
okay, now I get it. So basically, if the team is team number 1 and they do, they will be like egg drop at 8:30, and then I will look for the same, like gravity vehicle will be at 10:30, and then
correct. Yeah.
And those numbers will come out on October 1st.
October 1st, right? So basically on October 1st, you'll be able to set up pretty close to a month ahead of time what times the students need to be at the building. So for my team, they're only going to get 1 building event, and the parents only need to have the students at the building at that time. So let's say that I'm team 31. Well, and my students are doing 3rd grade gunk. Well, those students don't need to be to Langley until 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Got it. Okay, so basically if they're doing 2 events, they can do any 2 events, but the ones that are next to each other.
They could do any 2 events anywhere. It's just that they can only be in the building when they're doing their event.
Got it. But will they be able to do like egg drop in the ice cream?
No. No.
Okay,
no.
okay, that's, okay, perfect. Now, I get it. I get it now.
Right, yeah. So basically that's the conflict here. Straw, egg drop, and gunk for that group of teams happens at that time only.
Got it. Okay, makes sense now. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Let me see. Let's see if there's any other questions before we move on here. No clarifications have not been posted yet. They're just now starting to come in. That was one question there. Is elementary school grades considered division? Division A is 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. Those are the only teams that are in Division A. The one thing to confuse some new coaches is 5th graders could participate in Division B if they wanted to, but they can't participate in both divisions. Tabula recta, yes, that's what's coming out. There are no limitations on number of events which a student can participate. The only limitation that you have for the student is the time schedule. And part of that on this here, yeah, they could participate in every one of these if you wanted to, but that's kind of going against having a team. To me, that's just a team of one person if you're going to let a student have those. Like I said, my students do 2 testing events and 1 building event, and that's all they get. And that's, and really on my team of 45 students, that's all I have time to organize. There have been in the past students that have done 6 events in 1 competition. The thought I have though is that student really delving deep enough into a subject to get a good understanding of it, or are they just there to, occupy time? Resources for getting started. So I'm going to read this question one way. We do not have a set of resources available to say, go look here for information, go look there for information. This is research. So there's always the web, there's always the library. If somebody's going to be in Storm the Castle, they should be going out and looking at YouTube videos on how to build a small catapult and things.
I just wanted to, thanks for that. I just want to clarify my question. I wanted information about how this tournament runs. Like what are these events? Like I'm completely new to this. Like when does this happen? Like what are the events? How do we get organized?
Okay,
like
are you the new coach that just signed on like Friday?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I'll send you the rule book today.
Okay.
So what I have on the screen now, this is just the building events. The rule book has a lot more detail about how to set up a team and things like that. And then the second thing of Ambu's, of what Ambu was talking about here is these are the testing events, and testing events with a light color would be a conflict. So a student who loves cell biology and anatomy can't take those tests together. Because, and that'll come into the scheduling I'll show you here in a moment over on Scilympiad. It won't allow them to take those tests together. So when we talk about building events, the conflicts are the 2 events that are side by side, and in the testing events, it's within this color scheme here. And then this is probably a good time to talk about the testing event days. So the testing events will open by noon on October 26th, and they will close at 9 p.m. on October 29th. Within that time, you as a coach can schedule 2 students to take, or 6 students, depending on what it is, what the event is, a time for them to take the test together at your school. And by together, I mean that if I've got 6 students that are in anatomy from 3 different teams, all 3 teams must take the test at the same time. So I would schedule them, like mine are all going to take it on the 29th of October. And the way I'm getting mine set up, since it's an early release, I'll have my students testing from 2 o'clock to maybe 5 o'clock, and then they'll be done. Because once one set of students finishes, I can pair them up with another partner, and they can take their next test. Or there are some teams out there who just say, well, Johnny and Susie are going to do anatomy and astronomy. That's their 2 events, and they're going to be partners in both of them, so that they can take their anatomy test at one time, their astronomy test the next half hour, and they could be done and out of the building in an hour. So, and that'll become a little more clearer here in a couple of minutes when we start talking about that.
So Alan, if the kids are like, let's say they're taking anatomy and Codebusters, so that has to be in 3 different blocks, right? Like they'll have to be out for the second block and come back.
Right, and that'll as soon as I show you the Scilympiad part, it'll become more clear on how that works. Now, the timing of these events, and I'll talk about this again when we get to Scilympiad. Scilympiad is set up so that there's a timing for the event, but we don't have to honor that time for the event. We honor the time for the time it takes to take the test for these testing events. So it may say that, it's the event can go from Tuesday to Friday, but once the student starts that test, they have to finish it within the time frame of the test. So if it's a 30-minute test or a 25-minute test for Codebusters or anatomy, once they hit that start button, they only have that 25 minutes to finish, and then it won't let them do it again. Okay, so if you as a coach want to schedule it over multiple days, you're welcome to do that if it fits better into making your schedule. It doesn't have to all be done on one day, but as a team, if you have 6 students, 3 different teams doing ornithology, all 6 must take their test on the same day at the same time. All right, Ambu, anything else on this?
No, so there's a question about whether we have a practice day.
Yes, practice days start from October 3rd and go to the 24th. And practice day, it's not going to have questions per se that deal with the events that we have. It depends on who creates the questions. So it may be just, and all it is really for the students to sign in, be able to sign into Scilympiad, look and see what kind of test questions there are, the types of questions, like is it multiple choice or fill in the blank or true false. And that's it. And the practice time really only takes 15 minutes. The test for the events on practice day may be the same test for every practice, for every event practice. So they could do Crave the Wave, chemical bonding, and cell biology, but it's going to be the same test for each one of them. And I guess the one thing that we do need to talk about is students must be in the same room as the coach for these tests. You are the test proctors, should be you and one other adult in the room at all times with the students while they are testing. The practice dates will be October 3rd through October 24th. I'll send that out as soon as we get it all set up. And truthfully, if we get the test set up, in the next week, we could open it up then and kids could practice. On practice days or during that time frame for practices, we can reset that as many times as you want for students to practice getting in. But we won't do that after the testing starts. Students can sit side by side on one computer. Students can use 2 computers. That's totally up to you. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment.
So can a team add a new, can a school add a new team later on? If they sign up 2 teams now, can they add a new team later on?
Up until that October 1st, yes. Yes, you can. All right, any other questions on how to schedule students within the testing schedule? Come on, computer, go backwards. Any more questions about how the schedule works? Let me answer the question is there a scheduled calendar for these events? Let me talk about that in a moment. So when I get to Scilympiad, it'll become clear, also more clear there. So this is the building event schedule. These are the times that the events are scheduled for your team based on your team number. This is October 29th. So on that day, you're going to have students coming and going to participate in these building events or these events that are happening on October 29th. These events here are the testing events. These events can happen on your schedule from October 26th through October 29th at a time of your choosing. For these events here, both students and the coach, or the 6 students and the coach, must be in the room together with a chaperone. So there's got to be 2 adults must be in the room together when these tests are occurring.
Can we have more than 2 event supervisors? I mean, 2 supervisors in the room.
That's totally up to you. I don't know what the protocol is for each individual school because we are still dealing with a pandemic. 2 is all we require from Science Olympiad. They require 2 adults in a room when students are taking a test, especially for these young ones. If we were in a normal setting, it would be 2 adults from different schools, but we just can't do that this year. We're trying to cut down on the amount of contacts that we have within Science Olympiad. All right, so let me move on to a couple other things. Go ahead.
Sorry, Alan, but I asked you the question earlier about, how many people we can have in the cafeteria and the testing center, and you said 0.
Well, so what I thought you meant was on competition day.
Yes, on competition day while the competition is being taken.
So what I thought you meant was on competition building event day.
No, I mean,
Okay,
see,
yes.
competition, I meant on the testing day,
right,
on,
right.
say, if we are doing it on October 29th at Corbin Run,
Right.
how can I have more than just the coach and the assistant coach? Can I have 2-3 other people who would help with, getting the kids to, write the events?
I have no problem with that.
Okay.
What I do worry about in the back of my mind, and I'm still thinking about the time we would all be together, is to make sure that Johnny's mom is not watching Johnny sign on to the computer.
Right.
Right. And Johnny's mom is not looking over his shoulder during the test saying, well, you need to answer it this way or that way. I mean, that's what you as a head coach need to watch out for.
Okay.
But you could have a 1-for-1 if you wanted, because I'm not there to count heads. I don't expect you to, videotape what you're doing to send to me. So yeah, that's totally up to you as a coach, how many parents you need. What kind of hands-on you need. I mean, that's totally up to you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so I'll put this slide up here for a moment. I'll talk about it, and then I'm going to go through the real portal. So this year there was a 3-step registration process. The first one is we need head coaches and assistant coaches identified on the Google form that we send out. The reason we need this is because there's, in the portal and in Scilympiad, there's a possibility of a parent saying, well, I need an account. So they don't need accounts. And in the portal, which is the second step, we are the ones who are going to approve who gets to see the information that's in the portal. So if you as the head coach or you as the assistant coach, if the 2 of you are working in tandem, we can allow the 2 coaches to have an account for that school in the portal. In the portal, there's going to be registration forms that you as a coach need to fill out and send in. It's also where you're going to tell us the number of teams. Once you've chosen your number of teams, then you're going to print your invoice or bring up your invoice, and that's what you're going to give. That's what you're going to give to your, if you're a school and the school is paying for it, you'll give to the administrative assistant who pays the funds and so forth. And if you are a PTA, this is, or going through a PTA, so you take it to PTA and say, this is the price that we need, the funds we need. And those funds can be paid through PayPal, or they can be mailed by a check. I don't believe there's another way to do that. Do you know, Ambu? I don't remember. And then the next thing is the chaperones and volunteers. This year, we're asking for 3 chaperones / volunteers. And I'll show you how things can be, they can sign up for that. These are the only adults from your school that we're going to allow in the building to help out, either volunteering in an event or chaperoning, making sure students get to the right room and so forth. There are release forms that they have to fill out in order to do this. And then through the portal, this is the only place that parents and students need to register. There are release forms for students that parents need to fill out. It's also where you as a coach are going to be able to do, to check your roster to make sure every student is signed up. They won't need to do that in Scilympiad. Parents and students, you as a coach will need to put them in Scilympiad. We'll talk about that in a moment too. So let me stop sharing that. And let me get into remain logged in. Oh, thank you. Let me get into the portal and share that screen with you. So right now, this is when you go into the portal. Let me log out for a moment. You can come in and sign up for a new account. And I haven't done this in a while, so I'm going to click on the link just so you know. This is really all the information you need. You know, first name, last name, email, a cell phone to contact, what school. On this drop down, if you don't see your school listed in here, then shoot us an email, because you cannot sign into the portal unless you are listed here as a team. So like, I know Flint Hill School is not coming, I could sign in as their coach. So the only one that gets to do this is again, the head coach. And while I'm here, parents, they don't have to have an account. They just need to use this sign up student. And when they go in here, it's got their forms already for them. They put in their student name, they select their school, their grade. There's some questions there about ethnicity and so forth. There's some waivers here that they sign. These all have to be filled out by the parent and so forth. They digitally sign it and then they submit it. Let me go back here and sign in. Oops, forgot my password. So in here, I've signed in, I'm a coach. I can go in here and it'll bring me to this form here as my home. I can update my coach information. So if I go here, I can, put my email in, put my cell phone and so forth. Then I can check and see, have my event supervisor signed in. And you can see here that I don't have anybody signed up as an event supervisor or as a chaperone. And this is where you as the coach want to be very specific about who you're putting where. I mean, you could have every parent sign up here if you wanted, but then you're going to be the one who's going to say, I only going to use these 3 people on competition day.
Hey, Alan, I have
Go
a
ahead.
quick for you. I know our head coach was having trouble signing himself basically as the head coach. There's already one assigned to Jamestown. Is there a way to remove the old coach and add him as the new coach?
Yes, I'm aware of that one.
Okay.
And I think that was in Scilympiad, so I have to go in. Yeah, I have to go in
right.
Scilympiad and fix it there.
Okay.
and now I'm in an admin view. This is what I see on my side under this approved coach acts. So Jamestown already has Stephen as a coach. And then I have to go back to my spreadsheet and say, does Sophia need to be a coach for Jamestown? All right. And if she doesn't, then I can hit the deny button type of thing. So we get into needing approval and so forth in the admin home. Registration summary, it tells me all the schools that have registered so far. And that's on my admin side. So let's go back to the coach side. You got your update, checking to see your event supervisors, creating your invoice. It looks like this. You just finalize your numbers and hit the create an invoice. I think it creates it as a PDF. Then over here on number of teams, if you want, 2 teams, 1 team, when you get close to that October 1st, you know what you have, then you can change your number here. And then under registration details, this is where I'm registering. Have I looked at my event supervisors and so forth, finalize my team count and so forth. Have I done my registration forms? This is the important one here. It'll take you to a new window that you can print out. And this is the one where you have to get the administrator of your school to say, yes, I know that there's a team here and so forth. So this is the forms that need to go, you need to fill out and that your school needs to fill out. It's 2 pages. There is in this document a timeline type of registration for you to look at to see what comes first, second, third, so forth, type of thing. So, and Karen Emmons, who's one of the NAC gurus, the Vaso Portal gurus, has this really well laid out for us. Let's see here. I can't see my whole screen right now.
Alan, quick
Go ahead.
question.
Go ahead.
The form that you just showed, which the head of school needs to sign on, it looked like it needs to be printed out and mailed, or is there an online version?
There is, you can email it to us.
Like,
I mean,
get them signed and take a picture and email it?
Yeah, so once it's signed, because I guess it's going to download as an Adobe PDF. You could probably send it to your administrator. They could electronically sign it and send it back to you. But we're still going to need to know, like at the top, you've got to fill out the school information and so forth. And I might be able to get that updated so that it's just a fillable form. And I don't know if there's a password on it. If you have the regular Adobe, you could actually go in there and turn it into your own form.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. But yes, it's going to have to come to us. Now, the other thing is down here at the end of the coach home is you can see here, I have no students signed up yet. This is where you get to keep track of who's sent what parent and what child has filled out the forms for Scilympiad, the release forms and so forth. And you can keep track of this. And a little later in October, around about a week before the competition, we're going to run a program that will take your names from Scilympiad and compare them to the names that you have in the portal. And it's going to auto-generate a message to you as a coach saying, these are the names of the students that have signed up. Or it's actually, I think it's the other way around. It's going to generate a message to you saying, these are the students that you have listed in Scilympiad, but have not signed up in the portal. So you need to get them, contact them. And that's around October 16th, October 17th, when that's going to occur. But you can be checking over here every day, once you send that message out, and you can be pestering little Johnny that he hasn't signed up, or little Johnny's mom, he hasn't signed up, and so forth. All right, any other questions? And then so sign up student is here. there is the tournament volunteer. This is the forms that the 3 parents that you're going to have help you on tournament day. This is where they will sign up. And it's pretty much similar to what the students are signing up on. And then as coaches, we can, as administrators, we can go through and see what's there. So like, and if you want an expert, Jamestown and Basis seem to have their students are already signing up. So you could reach out to those coaches and say, hey, how did you do this if it's not sure? At a certain point, we're going to go in and we're going to look and see who has signed up to be event supervisors, and we're going to assign them to events. So once those are in from your team, then we're going to assign them. Let me go back here to the chat. Let's see, is it recommended to not use issue computers for Scilympiad? So, Julie, as far as I'm aware, there are no issues with using FCPS computers. B and C last year received permission from FCPS so that Scilympiad is not on their blocked list. And they're on the list of websites that students can get to. So that should not worry about that. Vinay, your question on how many volunteers do we typically need for organizing this? We usually need 3 adults per event. So we run 23 events, so we usually need 69 adults for events. We also need people grading tests. We need people writing tests. When all is said and done in a regular year, we may have over 100 people that work on this. So that's what we have. So for our events, for the building event day, you can have up to 4 people in the building. Well, 3 people. One person's going to be at the front door, so I don't really include that in the building. One person at the front door checking in students, making sure they're there. Another person to walk them to and from events. Your coach and your event supervisor. So it's 4 people total. 3 are your volunteers and chaperones type of thing for that question there. Are there any other questions I could answer about the portal before I move on to the to Scilympiad?
I have a quick question about the chaperones. Can we have like morning chaperones and afternoon chaperones, or will you recommend the same person all day long?
It has to be the same person all day long.
Okay.
Again, we have to limit the points of contact. The last thing I need is for somebody to come down with COVID and all of a sudden the health department call me up and say, we've got to track every student who was in the building and every adult that was in the building. And that would just be a total nightmare for me. Yeah, they must. So the 2 people, the one at the door and the one walking students to and from, those I could see switching places. That's fine with me. But the event supervisors are there for the entire day. The coach is going to be there for the entire day and so forth. The one thing that's sticking in my mind, if we go back and we look at that schedule, is what if we don't get all 60 teams? Well, then that would be like a free time for that event supervisor. They could go outside and breathe some fresh air and so forth, outside of the 15 minutes that we have. Langley's a pretty open building, pretty wide halls and so forth. They do have a courtyard there that we're looking to do the events outside with students. And a lot of these events, like the maple seed and the straw egg drop and the paper airplane, those kind of things, we're going to run those outside anyway. So it's just a matter of us grabbing a spot in the parking lot to run some of those events. All right. Any other questions about portal? All right, let me go on to Scilympiad to make a lot of this a little more.
Alan, shall we wait till 9:30 to start?
We could.
Because I saw 2 come in now, so I don't want them missing it.
How many total we got? So there's 10. Let's see. There was something else I was thinking that I should show.
Very nice. So every team needs a coach plus assistant coach. In addition, need the number of coach. I mean, there are schools that has only 1 coach. There are schools that has one head coach and 2 assistant coaches. It depends on how many you want. Orienteering is outside too. Yes, it is outside. And let's just pray for good weather.
Yeah, we can wait a while. That's fine. Let me stop sharing for a moment here. I want to make sure. I know we're hosts, but I want to make sure that what the time is that Karen said on this, it doesn't end on us prematurely. Let's see, where is she? So during this pause, this is the time to speak up and ask questions that are still puzzling you.
Hi, Alan. This is Julie Kim.
Hi, Julie.
I know I've asked this question about the computers on the build days. So those are only for research. And so the kids they don't have to get onto Scilympiad on a build day, right?
No, on a build day, we're going to have paper written tests.
Okay. And then Storm the Castle, that computer component is just for research too.
Possibly, yes.
Okay. Otherwise, they won't need it, right?
Right.
Okay. Okay. But they should bring it. Okay. Thank you.
I mean, so I'm not the one writing the event. I just wrote the rules. So the event supervisor may say, let me do it this way. And it may be that, and who knows, and I don't know if there's one out there. Maybe there's a catapult building program out there that they want the kids to use first. I mean, it's just there just in case.
Sure. Okay.
The biggest thing on that building event day is the safety equipment.
Right.
Especially for you new coaches, a chemistry goggle, an indirect vent goggle that you use for wet work is not gonna work for Storm the Castle. For that one, you need the safety glasses, and vice versa. I can't go into gunk with safety glasses when I need to have those chemistry indirect event glasses. And that was one of the things that we found last year is there was too many students that were wearing the wrong type of safety equipment for the event. Unlike B and C, we don't use chemicals, so we don't require lab coats. But that's an option. Kids always love to put lab coats on. So if, puts a smile on their face type of thing.
Alan, and if
Hey,
they
Alan?
do need to use the computer, let's say for brainstorm, assuming the coaches or whoever is there is going to help them log into like the Wi-Fi and all that, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, every Fairfax school, in fact, you can sit in the parking lot of a Fairfax school and sign into their Wi-Fi. I've been as far as 200 meters away from my building and still been able to pick up the Wi-Fi. And it's just a guest account.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Hey, Alan, when will we know the number of volunteers that will be needed either for writing the test or supervising?
I'm still in negotiations with the high school to see how many tests we need written and how many volunteers they're going to provide. It could be that we don't ask you for any volunteers. If they give me enough high school seniors to run these events, I may not have any and need anybody as an event supervisor. The volunteers. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, the volunteers they're gonna give me have all been doing Science Olympiad since they were in 3rd grade anyway. So they know all the rules and ins and outs and everything. They're well versed in this program.
Okay, that's good. Can we suggest some high school volunteers?
I don't know the answer to that question yet. And the reason again is the intermixing of groups of people. I'm not comfortable with that.
Okay.
So the less I mix people, the safer I feel we are. And that's just my worry. And my worry is in my school, we've had classrooms that have had to shut down already, and I'm in an elementary school. So I worry about it.
Can I make a, can I give you some feedback on what I heard from last year's, one of the tests?
Sure.
You know, I think it was astronomy. Most of the test questions were not multiple choice, they were short answer. And to get 8 and 9-year-olds to type in a short answer, that was really challenging. And I know it was challenging for everyone, but just to give some feedback that having these kids type is a little hard.
I understand. And I'll give you some feedback on that. Now that we're back in school, I'm finding the students don't know how to write.
No, we see that too.
They know how to type really well. In fact, I had a student the other day, he turned on his Google Documents, turned on the microphone and spoke his whole document. And then he edited it and turned it in for his assignment. They've grown so much, become so tech savvy in the last year.
I have a clarification on the volunteers. So each school, we are not responsible for trying to recruit volunteers for the running this event. It's somehow centrally done. Is that right? What I'm understanding?
You are going to provide us the names of volunteers. Yes, you're going to give us 3 names, and then we're gonna, and then and let me go back here to let me go back to the portal, because I think that's something I forgot to share with you guys. Thank you for reminding me. Over here under the volunteer sign up, I forgot to show you this link. Not only are they going to choose your school, but down here in this preferred tournament role, they can tell us, and this would be what you negotiate with your parents, is are they going to help be an event supervisor? Could they be an event supervisor or a chaperone? Or are they going to do both? Are they going to be an event supervisor and a chaperone? So I think the middle one isn't going to work for us. It might work for B and C. The one I would like everybody to do is just do this either or type of thing. I've got to admit a couple people here. Give me a second. So this is where you're going to have your volunteer sign up. And if you know that they're going to be a chaperone, have them click on that. If you know that they're going to be an event supervisor, click on that. The one that I know that we may not need is this event supervisor. And Ambu, are you okay if they just put device day chaperone on all of it, and then we come back to the team and say we need an event supervisor?
It would be both ES and chaperone might be better, so that we have the
Okay.
liberty of choosing whichever.
Okay. All right.
So I think this is in addition to the written test event, right? This is for the building event where we are providing the volunteers.
You're providing the 3 volunteers you're providing. One of them will help running an event if they're needed. Okay. The other 2 are checking students in to make sure they're there on time, and one of them can walk them to the event room.
I guess she's asking about whether it's for building event day or for the written test day. The 3 event supervisors, the persons you denote here, are for the building event day. So as far as the written test, it's dependent on you how you run it. We just ask you to have 2 adults in the room wherever you conduct the written test. That's all.
Okay,
A quick
so I'll have to
question.
follow my school rules as well, like,
Yeah.
based on the room space, how many people can be in the room.
Yeah.
Correct.
Another quick question is for the event supervisor. Can the parents specify which event they would like to supervise?
Yes.
And that is the provision is there on the form to write what they can
So,
supervise?
let me see, where is it? I thought I saw it. It might be that they need to write them in.
There is a
I thought there
place
was a
there.
drop down. I don't see it though now.
Maybe the coach assigns it. Basic elementary, they basis was able to sign up, right?
The one event supervisor we had was from Jamestown.
Oh, okay.
He was, where was it? Tournament workers. Details, sorry, it's registration and participation.
Go to select event supervisors.
That one, yeah. So this is within the portal. So basically what Steven's telling us here is that he can't supervise these events because he might have his own child in those events. So that's why I put in eligible events and so forth.
So is that only what the coach has put in or what?
Well, this may show up, since this is all of our events, this may show up because his children have already enrolled in signed up in the portal. So it may have cross-referenced, this is the parent, this is the child, and the child's in these events, so they can't be in those events for us.
Okay, so every parent of every child in my school, all 45 of them need to sign up as either a chaperone or
No.
a supervisor for a particular event?
No. You ask for your 3 volunteers. They're the only ones that need to sign up as a volunteer.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. And then what'll happen is when they sign up, it's going to cross-reference with a child from that school, and the system will know that Johnny's mom can't watch him in Brainstorm. And then that gets rid of that conflict of interest that sometimes people complain about quite often is, well, Johnny's mom is watching him do Brainstorm. That's not right. So this is our way of making sure that we have parents from other schools watching the students in the events.
Right.
Welcome all of you that are coming for 9:30. We've been recording this all morning long. We've been talking about the portal and the events and so forth. I want to continue on into Scilympiad now, and then we'll come back and we'll retouch on what we talked about at the beginning of the time. So those of you who need to skip out can after that. So within the next thing that we talk about is Scilympiad. And I'm going to sign out here for a moment because I'm signed in as administrator. When you come to Scilympiad, the first page you have, this is just the information. It gives us all the information here as to the dates that we have that are important. Now, I did give out an October 1st as the date that I will put in, that I'll generate team numbers, and that'll come back to the scheduling here in a moment. So I'm going to log in as my coach account. So that you can see what is as a coach. So I've logged in as a coach. The first thing, actually, I'm going to log out as a coach first. The first thing you need to know about this is on testing day, your students are not going to click log in. Your parents don't click log in. The students are just going to hit this student login button. Based on your team number, Scilympiad is going to give them a student ID number. And when they get in here, their student login, they're going to come down here to take a test online. And then they're going to put in, and mine happened to be this, my practice one was this 1028 BUP last year. That is going to be my sign in type of thing. So every student is going to get this code to be their student login. They don't need to log into Scilympiad. They don't need to ask for account. And again, parents don't need to ask for account. Within Scilympiad, we're going to only give one adult, excuse me, I need to back up on that. Only one adult is going to be able to sign in here. And if a student does it now, it's going to say there's no assignments yet because I haven't assigned myself to a team. So let me log out and sign back in as the coach. And actually, I'm going to stop. Let me share a different thing here really quick. Oops, not that one. Oops. Sorry about that, folks. This is really annoying me up here. There we go. Go back here. And this is what we just finished talking about, the portal. And then now we're going to talk here, and I need to change this number. We're going to allow one coach per school in Scilympiad. And in there, you're going to be going to the coach dashboard to assign teams, to assign events, and then we'll send out a number day, and then the students log in. Those are the things that I want to talk about in Scilympiad. So let me sign in as a coach. In here as a coach, there's all sorts of functionality in here. The most important ones for you are going to be this one right here, that is student team event assignment. When I click on that, it brings up the list of my students. And across the top, you have all these different links. You as a coach can import your students by uploading a file, and it gives you directions here. It gives you a sample importing file so that you don't have to type every student one by one. If you put it into an Excel spreadsheet, and I believe it's a CSV form, it's going to automatically bring them to you. So these are my students that I have. I can add it by hand, I can import them, and then I'm going to go to this link that says student to teams. When I click on that, then here's my one team. I'm basically just going to click on a student name. I'm going to hit add, and it adds them to that team. Now, I don't have my 3 teams set up, but if you had 3 teams, it would have my PES team 2, team 3 right here. And I can pick and choose. And this is where we start getting rid of some of those conflicts we think we have, is that Johnny's on team 1, he can't work with team 2. Or he can't work with team 3. He can only work with students that are on team 1. And this is that juggling act that you as a coach have to make, and to say, okay, these are the students that are going to be on this. For me, I sort of make it easy because since I have 3 teams, I have just a 3rd grade team, a 4th grade team, and a 5th grade team. And those are so I'm only going to have 3rd graders on one team and so forth. So I make that a little easier on myself, but it's up to you. If you mix and mingle, that's fine. It doesn't have to be one way or the other. Questions about that to start? All right, so next is we go to students to events. And this is the big takeaway from this part of the discussion. As you can see, all these color codes here, I cannot go in and assign myself to 2 events at the same time. And it does tell you to save often. So I'm going to hit save right now, and it's going to bark at me, and it's going to say, warning, there's a conflict. Okay, I can't have Write Stuff and Maple Seed at the same time. So I have to go back in and uncheck one, save my changes. Now I'm assigned to that time. And then that's where we go back and we look at the schedule. What time does Alan Borhauer have to show up for that event? And these events go all the way across through everything. Again, events in the same block of colors, like these green ones here, a student cannot be in both of those events at the same time. Questions on that? Because I know that's a big thing.
So in my school, events have been assigned to all 3 teams and all 45 students.
Mhm.
Can I go into this current, registration and put in the events just to make sure that there is no human error on my part in assigning the events in terms of conflict?
Yes, you can.
Okay, thank you. I
Yes,
don't
you
have to
can.
wait for them to sign up on the portal.
No, because once you put your students into your school, and again, this would be 45 students on my listing here. Once you put your students in there, then you can start assigning them to events.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Hey Ellen, this is Sukhbir saying, sorry I
Mhm.
joined late. Do you
Mhm.
have a recording of this?
Yes, we've been recording since 8:30 when the new coaches were in first.
All right.
So
And
yes.
another question I have, like just now you said, right? Team 1 or team 2 or team 3. I have only one team that have 15 students. Can I register those in a different, or can they have in different events, right?
So your schedule, once you put your teams in, your students into Scilympiad and you put them on your team. So like here, I've only got one team. I've got to check all my boxes, add them to the one team. Once you do that, then, whoops, I went back too far, sorry. Once you do that, then yeah, you're still going to come over here to events and say what event Alan is in, what event Natalie is in, and so forth.
Okay,
You're still going to have to come in here and fill this out, and this will help you look to see if there's any conflicts and so forth.
All right. And one more last question. I think this. So I have a team. I can register now, or should I wait for any particular date?
No, you can register them. You can put them in now.
All right. Thank you.
So the biggest thing on Scilympiad is we have to know who the head coach is, and that's the only person who's going to be working on the schedule and all of these things. Okay, so once we know that, then we can go in and approve the head coach role. No matter who else signs into Scilympiad, we'll approve who the head coach is, and that's the only person that's going to be able to get into this this coach dashboard.
Thank you.
And then once you've done all of that, this nice pretty button right here comes up with your event schedules. Actually, let me go back one step first. Let me go back into my events and let's put a couple of events in here for a couple of us. Save, did it save? Okay. And then you'll notice here that you can go by team here, so you can do one team. You don't have to go back and forth like I've been doing. When I go then I get this event roster, and it tells me what events each student is in. So if I have 2 students in one, and again, it's not going to let me create the conflict, but it's going to be able to give me a listing, and I can print out this listing of who's in what events again to double as another double check. As to what's going on. You as the coach can come in here and reset passwords. So if Olivia's forgotten her password, I can reset it to something simple, and then it'll go through on their side. It'll ask them, do they want to reset it, and so forth. The first time they sign in with their student number, it's going to ask them to set up their password. And again, if they forget it, they can do that. You won't have to worry about the principal certification or the signed releases here in Scilympiad, because that's being done over in the portal. All right. Any other questions out there so far about head coach?
So Alan, does the parents still need to give the permission form on this portal or no?
Not in Scilympiad. They do that over here on the portal.
Okay, got you.
Yeah, so they're gonna do it over here. When they do this, they click that sign up student button. That's where they're going to be doing all those release forms and so forth.
Got you. Understand.
Right. So in Scilympiad, the only thing we're using this for really this year is for you to set up where your students are in what events and to run the tests through it. And that's it. Everything else is done through the portal.
Hey, Alan. The coach goes in and signs up the students, right? So
Correct.
the number is generated, the unique ID is generated. So
Correct.
the students, do they have to sign in to create a password?
They will. So when they sign in, so let's add myself as another student here really quick. Just so that you can see what the students will, or you can see as a coach. So this is me. And my grade is 3. And then when I come down here and hit the save changes, it's going to, oops, come back to the top. It now has my unique ID. And then, so now I'm going to take this unique ID. Let me sign out as a coach. And then I'm going to sign in as a student. Take an online test. I put in my unique ID for the first time. I'm going to get rid of that. And you can see here, it's going to ask them to put in a password. So they get to choose. I do it easy for my 3rd graders. I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, it's got some rules. Sorry, 8 characters long. Got to have 8 characters. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, wait a minute. There's some other rules. Hold on. Let me move this up to the top. This is where it gets confusing for kids. And actually confusing for me too. Click OK. Has to have 1 lowercase, 1 uppercase, 1 number, 1 special character of either a exclamation point, pound sign, and so forth. So let me see. Oops. And then they put in their name. And I click sign in, and it'll tell me if it matched. All right, so it says profile not matched. Okay, this is where our practice days come in handy to make sure everything works. And I think part of that is I put the wrong password in at the same time. And right here it tells me do not copy and paste. So maybe I copied an extra character or so forth. All right, back into as an administrator now. So once I'm in here, I can go in and I can see your team roster. And I can check and see who's there, what events they're in. I'm not worried about the time blocks because we've already got those set up on a different thing. Event supervisors will be able to go in and see tests. And Score Master is for ours. So for you as a coach, you're pretty much just going to sign in, use this head coach dashboard. A lot of these links don't work. I need to go through, I can turn some of them off, but these webinars, Scilympiad, sometimes they have them, sometimes they don't. Looks like they have some here from last January that you could read through too. The Vaso YouTube website has, I think I sent that link out to most everybody the other day, has a lot of information on how to use Scilympiad also. What other questions can I answer?
Alan, I have a question about the practice test. Is it going to be a separate setup as a tournament? So we have to register.
It will be a separate tournament, and I'm going to work on getting that set up here in the next week. As I understand it, though, once you put your student list in there, since they're attached to your school, you just have to, you can put them into the practice tournament and into the regular tournament at the same time. Well, you'll have to do it twice. You'll have to say, these are the events for Johnny for the practice days. These are the events for Johnny for the regular days. There'll be one and the same. You won't have to put your students in again. They won't get it separate. They should not get a separate number for the practice days, but I'll have to check on that.
Okay, thank you.
Do all the students need to participate in all the building events? No. The students do not need to participate in all the building events. Again, I can only go back to my team. I only allow them one building event. That's all I feel they need. Plus, with so many students on my team, it works out that there might be 2 students who get 2 events for building, and everybody else gets 1. And that's just the nature of how many permutations you can do within your team.
But does every team need to participate in all the events? Like, for example,
No. No. In fact, I have a lot of students that I'm having trouble finding students that want to do orienteering. Part of that is because they're just afraid of the word.
Ellen, is there any limit? Can one student participate in how many events?
A school can participate in every event, but every student can't participate in every event.
Okay, but is there any limit like 3 or 4 or 5?
No, that's totally up to you as a coach to assign them.
Okay, all right.
What I worry about, and this is just me and the way I set my team up, what I worry about is the 5th graders always think that they should get everything that's best for them. So that's why I have the 3 teams, the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th grade, so that within that set of students, they can each get experience in each event. There's been, in the past, there's been teams where Johnny's mother is running the team, so she lets Johnny have all the good events, or lets Johnny have 5 events, and Susie's over here with only 1 event. To me, that's not very productive for that team. Or Susie, because she's not getting the experience in more events, testing out being a scientist and different things.
Alan, so the unique ID that is going to be generated for each participant, how do they get notified of it? Like, does it come to the coach and we have to email it to them, or they get the email?
They're not going to get an email because they don't do any registration. It's not going to come to you. You're going to have to come in here and go to your event schedule here to see. I can see who's got what numbers.
So the spreadsheet before that, the event roster, the student roster, that should give you the list. You send the list to the student. That's all.
Right. And you can, and down here at the bottom, I believe there's a somewhere here. Maybe it's not on this one. The next one over, the student to events, this one here, not that one, sorry. That was the wrong one. The event schedule. This one here, I can export to an Excel sheet. So then I can sort. I can actually sort by student name if I need to. But you're the one who's gonna get these numbers and have to do it, and it's per team. So if I had 3 teams in here, I would have this list would go down for all 3 teams.
And once I send this roster with the unique IDs to all the children, they will have to go onto Scilympiad and create that password for themselves.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And then at that point,
one other thing, the most important issue here is the website. The scilympiad.com/VA. This is where every student and every parent makes the mistake.
Do not go doing, don't go doing a Google search looking for Scilympiad Division A or Virginia, because it'll take you to the wrong one. We had this last year. So make sure that they just use that Scilympiad Virginia-Division-A website. All right, the newcomers in the room, what kind of questions do you have since you weren't here at the beginning? Let's go back to the beginning really quick, Anbu.
As we said before, you can get the rules manual from our website at the Division A portion of virginiaso.org. You can download it from there. As for the number of students, someone is waiting. As for the number of students, there can be 45 students per school organized into 3 teams of 15 each. A team can have less number of students, less than 55, 15 students for sure. And as for the number of students that can compete in an event, it depends on the rules. Anatomy can have 2 students per team, whereas brainstorm can have 3 students per team. And when we say team, we do not mean school. A school can have up to 3 teams. So for anatomy, there can be 6 students competing as 3 teams per school. And when it comes to materials required, anything that is that says a safety equipment is mandatory and it has to follow the rules. And scheduling students, you should have seen that in Scilympiad already. While scheduling, you cannot partner a student from team A or team 1 with team 2. That's pretty much it. And
now let me answer a question in the chat here. Julie, it's set to start at noon on the 26th, and that's been put out there before. So the tests will be available starting on October 26th. So yes, 4 p.m. would work.
Sounds good, because our club meeting runs at 4, so we want to run that day. Okay.
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay, so these are the building events. Over here, the numbers denote the team numbers and not the school. A team can have up to 3 teams. Say, for example, a particular school can have teams 1 to 3. So all the 3 teams should compete in the same time. And you can see event conflicts over here between straw egg drop and 3rd grade gunk ice cream. Okay, there is a question regarding team numbers. So it would be on October 1st. Am I right, Alan?
Yes, on October 1st is when I'll hit the button to create the team numbers. And the system is going to try to make sure that you're all within, you have your 3 team numbers will all be consecutive. And it may be at that time when I go through and I look and I see that there's a team of 3 that's split between, like they gave them numbers 10, 11, and 12. I may have to go in and manually change the numbers so that all 3 of your teams appear at the same time. Just for that convenience of making sure that you don't have, well, Johnny's going to show up for straw egg drop at 8:30, but then the next time your team is showing up for straw egg drop is 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I need to make sure that the numbers for your team are all within that 10 team block.
If they use 2 laptops in online tests, one is for research.
Is that an old question?
No, there's another question. If they use 2 laptops in online tests, one is for research and the other one is for sending out the answers. No.
No.
And for online test, it is for taking the test. Sometimes students do it individual using one system. Both the students converse with each other and type the answers in, or else they use their own personal laptops to sign in and type the answers.
And will the online tests, do they do it at home or do they have to come to school?
School.
Has to be in school.
And I assume this is all happening at the same school that they go to, right? The 2 events will be held. Like if
Correct.
the kids are in Cedar Lane, they go to Cedar Lane, they don't go anywhere else.
Right. So
provided it's a building event. Building event is happening at a central place, but the written test event has to happen at your school.
Oh, okay.
With you supervising it.
Let me change this just a little bit. This is at Langley High School. 29 October.
I have a question. So
I think that, sorry, it's not, is it 29th or the 30th? 30th is build events, right?
29th is, I spelled October wrong. 29th is, oh no, 30th, sorry. You're right, 30th.
Okay, will students be given time to set up laptops for brainstorm? Will Wi-Fi information be given beforehand? It's going to be the FCPS guest login, so you should be able to log in
So,
easily, right?
yes, they'll have time to set up their laptops. Yeah, we've got that 15-minute window between each event. So if your
sorry.
team is there 15 minutes before time, we can get them in the building, get them set up, make sure everything's working for them.
So now the test is in school, right? So if, for example, if two kids in one team, they can sit together and give the test, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Two students can work on one computer together.
Mhm.
The one thing, and I'm hoping there's a lot of new coaches still here, the one thing that we have not talked about is time outside the browser. And time outside the browser during the testing, and you guys will see this in practice, and maybe we'll have another day where we talk about your practice day results. If a student is taking a test in Scilympiad and they click anywhere else on their computer screen, it's going to count it as time outside the browser. And the system defaults to think that that child is out there looking up information on the internet. And that's where we get back to the question about two computers. And Ambu, I think we might have to hold true to this, is that both competitors need to be on a computer at the same time in the same test. And that's the only way that we're going to allay those fears of some coaches that, well, that team only has one student writing on the test and the other students out there researching answers. This is
Alan, to that, I would say that, like in the past, that the way my kids have taken the test, it gets hard to scroll through. Like there have been some tests which have had like 60 questions, and they divide it amongst themselves. So in a span of like 25 minutes, one child is doing 1 to 30 and the next child is doing 31 to 60. But if they're on the same laptop, then it gets kind of harder to go through all the questions within the time limit.
no, I understand that. What I'm saying is they need to have two laptops.
Yes, two
That's
laptops, but both of them are only on Scilympiad, and that I guess the coach will have to just make sure that no other website is open.
Correct. Yes. I agree.
Thank you.
So if I look on the roster and I see that there's two students taking anatomy from Providence Elementary School and only one student is signed in, then in the back of my mind, where's that other student? Were they ill that day, or are they researching questions that, side by side? And that's where you as event supervisors have to come in and say, okay, both students need to be logged into Scilympiad, taking the test at the same time on different computers, because that's the only way you can do that. And I think that will that makes it easier us to look and make sure that everything is there. And you as the head coach can always send us an email and say, well, Johnny's sick, he can't make it to anatomy that day, we're only going to have one student in it. That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on this slide, Ambu?
No, we good.
Everybody out there understands the numbering system and how that's going, right? All right. And then the other conflicts we have are here on the written tests. Go ahead, Ambu.
Okay, so the events that are color coded would be having conflicts. The ones in green will be held at the same time. So a student who is competing in solar system cannot compete in dichotomous key. And students who are competing in rocks and minerals cannot compete in dynamic planets, so on and so forth. So, I mean, this is something that's similar to what you will see on the Scilympiad when you actually sign up the students. So that's pretty much it. Over here, there were some questions regarding Codebusters and logical thinking, and logical thinking is a 3rd grade only event and Codebuster is not.
Those are the only 3 events, right? Life cycles, dichotomous key, and logical thinking
Mhm.
are the only 3rd grade events on,
Yeah.
on the written tests. Yeah, and I, like a lot of other coaches, have already assigned 4th graders to some of these, so I have to go back on Monday and tell them, sorry, you can't do these events. Happens every year to me. And I guess one of the other things out there in the rule book somewhere that it wasn't clear, macromolecules is actually a food science event. Just need to put that out there also.
So, I mean, what we essentially started out was like we took a Division B event and tried to match it. And that's why food science was the basis for macromolecules. That's why you see it as food science macromolecules. Okay, do we have any other questions regarding
on events? Yep.
on events?
So if maglev is a trial event this year, that means it is like, is it competitive? Do you give a ranking for like a placement for the participants?
Trial events usually do not have any medals, but if it changes, we would be informing you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so based on your school schedule, let's say a student comes in, they're doing orienteering, but they wanted to test out maglev. They could finish their orienteering event and then be able to come in and do maglev as a test event to see. One of the things is we want to make sure that the children are able to create something to get it to work. And we do this every year. A few years ago, we did wind power, and the kids were like, oh my gosh, we have to have this event, because they were making windmills in the middle of the cafeteria. So I wanted to have it as a real event this year, but B and C said that it was so hard for even seniors in high school to compete in the event that I'm having reservations now about whether can we get a 3rd grader to be able to create a device that will skim across the magnets to the end. So if we can get something going and get it working, then next year it'll be a regular event. All right. Anything else on schedules out there? Let me get into the portal. Portal information, and then I think that'll bring us full circle. Coaches will go into the portal to register your school. There's the 3-step process. One, we want you to identify who the head coach is, who's the assistant coach, on the Google form that we sent out to everybody. From there, you can go in and request an account in the portal as the coach or the head coach, and we will approve or deny it based on that spreadsheet. Once you get into the portal, that's where you're going to find the school registration forms. That's where you're going to tell us the number of teams. You're going to generate your invoice. It's also where your chaperones and volunteers are going to sign up and sign their release forms. It's also where the parents and students are going to have their registrations. And it's also where you're going to be able to do your roster check. Let me, actually, I'm not sharing, am I? What happened to all my, I've lost all of my stuff.
You are sharing.
Am I sharing?
Oh, at least the slides.
Okay, I can't even see the thing for me to stop sharing right now. So that's why I was confused. All right, so let me start in the beginning here. Let's start with students and parents. They do not need an account. So they do not need to be clicking on need an account. They're just going to go in here to sign up students. And this is the release forms that the students will fill out. The parent can do this. They're going to select you as a school, their grade. They're going to select all this demographics that Science Olympiad wants to help track. How many years, parent, guardian, all these little check boxes that parents have to do, and then they're going to submit it. This is the only place that a parent will need an account for. It is the only place that that students are going to register at, because everything else over in Scilympiad is going to be done for them. Your volunteers, and schools get to have three volunteers. One is going to be an event supervisor. The other two are going to be chaperones. This is also on here, and Ambu, I forgot. We probably need another drop down for coach, although I think the coach forms are on another page. But this is the volunteer sign up. This is where your volunteers are going to come in, fill out their information, and they're going to choose event supervisor or both ES and chaperone. We're thinking that both ES and chaperone is the more important one for them to sign up on. That way we can, if we need extra volunteers, we can get there. I'm still negotiating with Langley High School. Their Science Olympiad Club is sponsoring us. So I need to find out how many high schoolers we have to run events for us. It could be that at the end of the day, I don't need any event supervisors at all, because I have enough seniors in high school to run this, and seniors that have been doing Science Olympiad for some of them since 3rd grade. So they know the routine. But we do need an extra adult to help move students in and out of the building. They are requiring that everybody be vaccinated. If they're not vaccinated, they're not going to be able to come into the building, type of thing. Question? All right, so that's the sign up for students, the sign up for volunteers. You as a coach, when you come in, get myself signed back in here.
Alan, we need one event supervisor and 3 volunteer, or can we have one supervisor and 2 volunteers?
You're going to do 1 supervisor and 2 volunteers.
Okay, thank
Yeah, 3 total. The 2 volunteers are going to be, one person's going to keep your roster, make sure students are there for their events. The other one gets to walk the students to the event.
Okay.
And then an adult that's going to be in a room helping supervise an event. But if it doesn't matter which they get, then just have them fill out the form. Fill out the form so that they can help them. So you as a coach are gonna, when you first log in, you're gonna have a form like this, tells you the number of teams, how much you need to pay, and so forth. If you need to update coach information, you can update it here. If you click on this event supervisor one, it'll tell you who, if they've signed in or not, so that you know that we can track them within the system. Also, if you once you do your number of teams, you can go and click on the create invoice, and it'll create a PDF form for your registration fees. And then your registration details, change your number of teams, how many event supervisors and so forth do you have. So that's the first part of and really that's all you need to do within this system. You can have the head coach and the assistant coach sign up for accounts, and they can both be working on this at the same time. Checking, because your most important one is going to be down here at the bottom of this first page. How many students do you have that have filled out their registration forms? And then over in Scilympiad that we talked about already, over here, when you come in and you look at your student roster, we're going to run a program around October 17th that's going to take this list from Scilympiad and compare it to your list here in the portal, and it's going to generate an email to you saying these students have not signed up yet, so that you can make sure that everybody has filled out the registration forms. And so we sort of split the requirements of the schools are going to be using the portal here. And then you as coach, you're going to be using the Scilympiad to put things up. And in no case anywhere do parents need to have an account, or do students need to have an account. Only coaches. And then from there, we can go in and we can see how many schools have signed up, and so forth, how many teams are coming, and whatnot. And there's some other things that we can do. If you get into, and if you're a brand new coach out there who's just coming into the conversation now, if you find, like under this not registered, if you find that you don't have a school name on the drop down for registration, let us know and we'll set you up in here. As you can see, we've got a lot of teams, a lot of historic teams that have, that haven't come in a couple of years, but they're still on our list. All right, what other questions can we answer for you? About anything? Oops.
I guess all the chat questions are answered as well.
I think so too. I guess one of the things out there that we didn't talk about much today is to make sure your parents know the clarifications is open. We're still getting a lot of emails come through asking for information that should go through the clarifications channel. And the reason we want it there is so that everybody receives the same answer at the same time. I have not gone through clarifications to answer any of them yet. I know that's what I wanted to check over here, make sure that we've answered these. Event timelines, that's on the Scilympiad, the computers, bringing computers. Question earlier was, why do we need computers for Brainstorm and Storm the Castle? Brainstorm is, there's some research that goes into that. So students may have to go out and research things. We recorded, how does scheduling work? We did that already. Big question, if you stagger events, can they all be independent on the written test? Yes, they can. But when we went through the Scilympiad part there, where it will not allow me to put Alan Borhauer twice here in this orange section. When I hit the save, it's going to give me a message saying that I can't have them at the same time. So Scilympiad is going to help you make sure you don't have any conflicts with students doing events at the same time. We've answered this one already. We need 2 students, 2 computers logged in at the same time, working on these tests. Cheat sheets. Those are listed in the events. It is up to you as the coach to make sure the students have them ready for their events. They cannot be online because if a student clicks out of Scilympiad while they're taking a test, it's going to count as outside the browser, and the system is going to assume that the student is researching online for an event. So make sure that the students know that they should not be clicking outside. And you'll see this on the practice days. You can have the students practice by clicking out, and it'll put up a timer for them, showing them how long they've been outside the browser, type of thing. And we did talk about the written test will open up at noon on the 26th. So anytime between noon on the 26th and 9 p.m. on the 29th, your school can take the events, which goes back to the written test. If I stagger the events, you can go back and use those events, set them up on your schedule, type of thing. All right, and I think that is it. Find my little, there it is. So final questions, final comments, final thoughts.
So Ellen, are you going to share this recording or this
Yes.
presentation?
Yes, it'll be available this afternoon. I'm not too sure what time, but I'll send a message out to all the coaches to let them know that it's available. And then that being said, in the Virginia Science Olympiad YouTube channel, there's last meeting is up there. I think the last 2 meetings have already been posted out there. I know the last one for sure. There's also a tutorial out there about Scilympiad and how and some workings on that. For those of you who want to go and look at that. And within Scilympiad, there's also some tutorials on how to use their functions.
A clarification on the point 14, our one-page cheat sheets allowed this year for virtual events. It depends on the rules. If it says
true.
it is allowed, it is allowed. If it does not, then it is not.
And I think there's one event there where they get to use 2 pages, if I remember right. But yeah, follow those rules. Make sure your parents are following those rules. I guess one last thought is we need to distinguish between a head coach, an assistant coach, and a mentor. So some schools, they will assign families to events. Those aren't coaches, those are mentors. The only ones that are coaches are the head coach, the listed head coach, and the assistant coach. And those are the only ones that that get into Scilympiad and assign students. They're the only ones that use the portal and so forth for the school assignment type of stuff. Okay.
Alan, the registration, the VASO portal registration where we need to sign up as the head coach and the parents can sign up the children. That is the link that you sent in the email, right?
Yes, I can put it up there again for you here too. Wait a second, let me pull this down. Oops, that's this one. Let me log out. I have to do this in a couple of different ways or else it takes you to the wrong. Oh, it's going to do it to me again. Let's Ambu, do you have it really quick? Actually, wait a minute. If I just click on this, yep. No, it's still bringing up my admin. All right, so if I go to Coach Home, so coaches would use this address, and then families would use. Still going back to admin home on me. Let me do sign up student. This one would be for students, the students and families one. And then this one would be for your volunteers.
Let's go to add student again.
Oh, did it? Sorry. Oh, why is it add student?
Okay.
Strange. There we go. And those are listed when you get into when you create your coach account. Let me go to Coach's Home. Under that forms link, where's the forms link again? Under registration details and under the forms here, all of those are also listed at the bottom of this chart. So it gives you your Coach Home, your invoices and so forth. Gives you the Science Olympiad. This Google form is the one to fill out to let us know that you're the head coach.
Okay, it seems that Stephen is having an issue.
Yeah, when I logged into the Science Olympic site, the step 3, I moved myself to head coach, and then it gave me a message to say that someone else was the head coach and I should reach out. And that person was someone that was a parent last year. Right.
And we have to go through and check all of those and clear those out. Okay. I've had to reset Scilympiad, and one of the things I didn't want to lose was all the coach information, so that those people who were coaches last year could just have their things. And I'm finding now that I should have just erased everybody and made you all start from scratch. So I'll set that up today as soon as we get off here, so that you'll be able to work on that.
Okay, great, thank you.
Ellen, I'm also facing the same issue, and I'm the head coach for the Navy Elementary, but say someone else is already head coach.
Right. So again, that's where I'm going to go double check the spreadsheet. And I know that you haven't put anything on the spreadsheet because you don't have that link yet. So I will send you that link here shortly, and then you can sign up there. And then you can also tell me who's going to be your assistant coach, so we can be looking for those names as they come through. Okay. All right, folks, thanks for coming.
All right, thank you, Ellen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for answering all our questions.
You'll have some more, so I know we'll probably have one more meeting sometime.
Thank you. Okay, see you. Bye.
See you.
All right, let me stop recording. Stop sharing. Stop